Assassin's Creed is a franchise that has gone through many different phases since its initial debut back in 2007. The true mastermind behind the franchise, Patrice Désilets, had a very specific vision for what he wanted Assassin's Creed to be. But as the story usually goes, creative differences led to Désilets being fired from Ubisoft and his plan for the series never seeing the light of day. But what was his plan exactly? The concept for Assassin's Creed was initially developed with a finite narrative in mind, which may sound kind of crazy when you consider how many games the franchise has spawned. But when you really think about where the series has gone post Ezio trilogy, you can clearly see the potential of what could have been. What started as a 3-game plan then turned into a 6-game plan, with each entry focusing on Desmond Miles reliving the memories of his ancestors during various time periods. Over time, Desmond would absorb the knowledge and skills possessed by his ancestors due to the bleeding effect, all culminating in a final game in which the player solely takes control of Desmond in the modern day as he works to take down Abstergo for good, as well as put a stop to the imminent Great Catastrophe, much like the one that wiped out the first civilization. But Ubisoft hated the idea. Like a lot of corporations, Ubisoft didn't look at Assassin's Creed and see a deep, philosophical, narrative-driven experience. They only saw dollar signs, a successful thing that they could milk for profit. And so, after Désilets' departure and the ending of Assassin's Creed 3, began the directionless era of Assassin's Creed modern day. I'm well aware that there are a lot of people who would argue that the modern day storyline of Assassin's Creed was never that important to begin with and only took away from the part that most people showed up for, which is playing as a cool guy in cool robes running around a cool historical setting. I get it, I was once that person too. I didn't hop on board with the series until the release of AC3 and I didn't care about anything that was happening outside of the Animus. It wasn't until I went back and experienced the older games that I really began to understand and appreciate the significance of Desmond, the precursor objects, and how it all connects to the Assassin-Templar conflict, as well as the end of the world as we know it. It's all pretty elaborate storytelling and adds layers to these games that an alarming amount of people just simply ignore. Now I'll be honest, this is a video idea I've kind of been sitting on for a while now, but what really gave me the drive to finally sit here and write this out is seeing the way people responded to the leaks that the heavily rumored remake of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag will not feature any of the modern day sections of the original. People were celebrating this, claiming that the modern day was always boring and never mattered to them anyway. And while I don't think Black Flag's modern day was anything special by any means, I still like that they at least tried something after Desmond's death. And the whole Abstergo employee and Sample 17 thing was fairly interesting to me, not gonna lie. Anywhere near as good as what came before? No, but we were still given a reason for continuing to explore Desmond's bloodline and relive the memories of Edward Kenway. And that is the key element right there that makes Assassin's Creed's modern day so important. It's what gives everything meaning. It's very easy to play through an Assassin's Creed game and just marvel at the striking recreation of a particular location from a given time period. Renaissance Italy, colonial America, Victorian London, these are just a few of the many settings that the series has featured up to this point. These historical playgrounds, so to speak, have become one of, if not the main draw of Assassin's Creed. Once upon a time, however, AC was less concerned with what historical setting appealed most to players. I mean, the settings were still important, obviously, but they were always in service of a much broader narrative. Nowadays, we'd be lucky to get any type of acknowledgement of anything going on outside of the Animus. And like I said before, for many fans this is something to celebrate. Gone are the days of their epic assassin fantasy being interrupted by some white people talking about a bunch of philosophical bullshit. While the current state of Assassin's Creed Modern Day has been a long time coming, and at this point the series is better off without it considering the giant mess that it evolved into, I still think there is something to be said about the role that the modern day storyline has played in making Assassin's Creed an incredibly layered and unique experience. But this is all pretty broad, so let's dive a little deeper. Odds are, if you're watching this video, then you're already familiar with how the Animus works, but on the off chance that you don't know or you need a refresher, I'll briefly explain it. The Animus is a machine initially developed by Abstergo Industries to gather information on their ops, the assassins, as well as pieces of Eden. The Animus allows its user to relive the memories of their ancestors by accessing and decoding the genetic memories stored within their own DNA. Pretty cool, right? The Animus has taken so many different shapes and forms over the years, and it's been modified by different people for various reasons, with later versions even allowing users to relive the memories of people they aren't related to. Which sounds cool in theory, but I also think it's a big contributor to the downfall of Assassin's Creed modern day, but we'll get to that. The reason the Animus and how it functions is such a key component of the modern day is because it reinforces the idea of a true alternate history that allows the games to explore different time periods without the shackles of actual recorded history. Which is why the whole Yasuke controversy with Assassin's Creed Shadows was always completely nonsensical. This is the same franchise, mind you, in which figures like the Pope and Adolf Hitler were canonically members of the Templar Order and possessed pieces of ancient technology that were built by a highly advanced civilization of humanoid beings that predate humans by over 70,000 years. What the hell are we even talking about? As Warren Vidic puts it in AC1,
anyone can write a book, and they can put whatever they want on its pages. Anything. Used to be, we thought the world was flat.
Some people still do.
Yes, and they publish books about it. Or that the moon landing was a hoax. I believe there's also a book claims the world was created in 7 days. A bestseller, too.
Where's this going, Doc?
The point, I suppose, is that you shouldn't trust everything you hear, everything you read. What's that your ancestors said? Nothing is true?
Everything is permitted.
Like Vidic said, witnessing a point in human history through the eyes of someone who was actually there then allows you to see it for what it was rather than the quite commonly narrow version that we read about in our incredibly biased and sometimes just ignorant modern society. As Ezio explains to Sophia in Assassin's Creed Revelations, the creed, nothing is true, everything is permitted, is not doctrine as one is led to believe, considering freedom is the main thing that the assassins fight to protect, but rather it's simply an observation of the world around us.
To say that nothing is true is to realize that the foundations of society are fragile, and that we must be the shepherds of our own civilization. To say that everything is permitted is to understand that we are the architects of our actions, and that we must live with their consequences, whether glorious or tragic.
Fuck man, this whole exchange is so good. Ezio's interpretation is just one of many, as most characters have a somewhat different understanding of it, but Ezio's really stands out to me as I think it ties in most to the modern day of Assassin's Creed for this reason. In the early days of Assassin's Creed, the modern day revolved around the character of Desmond Miles, someone who was born into the Assassin Brotherhood, but grew up with a disdain for that way of living. At the age of 16, Desmond left the assassin compound he grew up in and eventually found employment working as a bartender in New York City, where he remained until being kidnapped by Abstergo agents in 2007. Desmond, not wanting to conform to the world and set of rules that he knew, became his own shepherd and decided that he wanted something different. Desmond mirrors his own ancestors in this way, as Altair, who was also a stubborn, headstrong individual, breaks free of the dogmatic teachings of the Brotherhood that was all he ever knew, but ultimately worked to reform it for the better with a new set of principles that then went on to influence Ezio and much later Desmond. How people can look at this type of synergistic storytelling and think it's boring or doesn't matter is honestly beyond me. I don't think the scene in Altair's library will ever not send chills down my spine. It's so fucking good. The problem I mentioned earlier with later games making it to where an Animus user can relive anyone's memories as long as they have access to their DNA is that moments like the one in Altair's library and even the end of Assassin's Creed 2 aren't possible, because the connection that our modern day protagonist has with our assassin isn't nearly as deep or interconnected. It just can't be. And while I can commend Ubisoft for at least trying something with Layla Hassan and Assassin's Creed Origins after the whole quote-unquote initiate era with AC Unity and Syndicate, Odyssey and Valhalla came along and just completely butchered any remnants of what could have been with that story, and that really sucks. So while I think that the Animus hub that was introduced in Shadows is the way to go, as us old school modern day fans no longer have to worry about the constant disappointment of something even mildly intriguing being set up just to never actually see the light of day, I simultaneously can't shake the lingering yearning I have for the old days of my favorite video game franchise actually catering to a dedicated, hardcore fanbase who truly appreciated these games for what they were, as opposed to trying to reel in a demographic of people who just want to get lost in a sprawling historical epic, something that Patrice Désilets never planned for the series to be. Look, if you're a person who never cared about the modern day or hopped on with more recent entries that don't resemble the old games in almost any tangible way, This video isn't meant to put you down or invalidate your opinion. Like I said at the top, I was once one of you, so I get it. There are just so many people I see online who are clearly more casual fans of Assassin's Creed who act like they're an authority figure on the lore or what Assassin's Creed should be. And that really bothers me because these are the people that they're making Assassin's Creed for now. And as much shit as I've been talking, I'd be lying straight through my teeth if I said games like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla didn't have a weirdly special place in my heart, as they are games that I've had an ample amount of fun with. I'll never forget the experience of exploring every nook and cranny of ancient Egypt, or grinding out the platinum for Odyssey while stuck indoors during the pandemic, and Valhalla is just a strangely fun and beautiful game. I'm not just a hater of all things recent when it comes to Assassin's Creed, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder how different things would have turned out for the franchise had Patrice gotten to see his vision through to the end. I honestly don't really know what I'm trying to say with this video. I thought I had a point to all this when I started writing it, but I'm starting to think that maybe I don't. Maybe like my Last of Us 2 video, this is just a form of catharsis to get my thoughts and feelings on the matter out in a productive way without any real message or through line. I guess you could say there's some dramatic irony in that, as it resembles the current state of Assassin's Creed modern day, something that, no matter how much I or anyone else wants it to, will never have any meaning or intentionality to it ever again. Thanks for watching.